Welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast with me, Venus O'Hara. An orgasmic lifestyle is about reaching a climax in all areas of life, not just in the bedroom. Here, we dive deep with expert guests on topics like nutrition, spirituality, personal development, sexuality, and much more. Together, we'll explore lifestyle lessons to help you lead a life that's fulfilling, joyful, and unapologetically orgasmic. I'm your guide, Venus O'Hara. Welcome to episode 168 of the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast with Venus O'Hara. In this first quarter moon episode, we discuss narcissistic abuse recovery, and we speak with Emma Carter, who is a rapid transformational therapist, and we speak about how to heal from narcissistic abuse. And Emma is the therapist that I have worked with, so I cannot wait to share this with you. I also review the 3 books that have helped me the most on this topic, and those books are Things No One Taught Us About Love, How to Build Healthy Relationships with Yourself and Others by Vex King, and A Cult of One, How to Deprogram Yourself from Narcissistic Abuse by Richard Grannon. And finally, You're Not the Problem, The Impact of Narcissism and Emotional Abuse, and How to Heal by Helen Villiers and Katie McKenna. And the episode ends with a meditation with affirmations for narcissistic abuse recovery. But first, let me share with you my own experience with this topic. I ignored the signs. There were signs from my friends, from my body, and I ignored them all. I intellectualized those feelings and thought, surely not. It's very difficult for me to speak about this because I don't want to go into the realm of gossip, but this is an important topic to talk about, narcissistic abuse. And the word narcissism is definitely overused and I would say misunderstood. And it's very prevalent on social media recently. But it's important to underline that when we talk about narcissism, well, we could be talking about narcissistic personality disorder. And obviously, you cannot diagnose that just from looking at someone's behavior or, looking online, whatever. But what I really want to refer to is narcissistic traits. So these are behaviors that could be narcissistic, and we are all guilty of these behaviors at some time or another. But the real problem arises when these types of behaviors become patterns or they all exist together. Things like lack of empathy, grandiosity, I can't even think of them now. I used to know them so well, but it's something that I've been researching for quite a long time, actually. And gaslighting, things like that. Dismissiveness would be a good word as well. But the main things that I noticed quite early on with a particular person was the grandiosity and the lack of empathy, especially for someone like myself, who I consider myself to be an empath. And that word is quite loaded, and people, use that word as some kind of badge of honor. I feel things. I'm a highly sensitive person and I can feel other people's pain and I'm the confidant. But when I was reading a book about narcissistic abuse called You're Not the Problem, which I reviewed a few episodes back, I learned that being an empath or describing yourself as such really is a type of trauma or some kind of, I wouldn't say trauma, I'm not sure if I should use that word, but it comes from a place, it's actually hypervigilance, where you are reading rooms and trying to anticipate people's feelings and reactions before they even happen, because you've been walking on eggshells for a very long time in your life. And that's something that really kind of was really was a bit of a wake-up call for me, actually. And I started to try and be a little bit less empathetic. And also I think I was doing or performing empathy sometimes to try and make people like me and just being useful for people. But the more useful you are, unfortunately, people do tend to walk all over you. So I was I had an experience, or I wouldn't say it's down to one experience, but I've had experiences in my life where I have attracted people with narcissistic traits. And it took me a very long time to kind of wake up to them and see what was really happening. And before these experiences, which have been fairly recent, I used to, my understanding of relationships was very basic. I used to think that, you having a sexual, physical attraction with someone, to someone, and hopefully it's mutual. And then you have sex, you kind of explore that, and the sex with that person has something, they penetrate parts of you that are more than physical, and it becomes maybe emotional. There's something different with that person than any other kind of physical or casual encounter that you may have. And there's something that you want to repeat or explore with that person. And then with this sexual magnetism that keeps repeating, suddenly you find yourself in an emotional entanglement. And then you're in love. And then from that comes commitment, and you cannot imagine life without the other person. That's kind of how I imagined relationships to be. And to some extent, I still kind of believe that. But now I know that relationships are so much more. There's more to them. There are more dynamics to explore. It's not just about having a physical attraction, emotional connection. There are many other factors that are important when committing to someone, committing to a relationship. And those other things actually fascinate me. And I must confess that I am quite frustrated in my life that I've not experienced those things to the extent that I would like to feel, someone completely investing in me and me and them and us, creating a life together. But also some other limiting beliefs that I've had about relationships is that I haven't felt that they've been very expansive as well. And that's something that I do find a little bit frustrating. I do take responsibility of that myself as well. And yeah, so I do think that, a healthy relationship can expand you rather than limit you. And that's very, very important, because when you start to, feel limited by someone, or that you cannot fully be yourself, or that you're walking on eggshells, or that you have to kind of censor your behavior, your language, that go beyond, what we call respect, then there's something definitely wrong. And for me, I was in a space where I remember before falling in love, or was it a trauma bond? Who knows, with someone. And I just remember feeling in my body not being completely safe. And all my friends were kind of like calling me out, basically. I didn't listen to them. I was just kind of putting someone and a connection on a pedestal that they did not deserve, and I did not ask for as well, which is something that I do take responsibility for. But in my experience, instead of calling things out that I knew were wrong, I thought I was the problem. I thought maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not interesting enough. Maybe I'm not beautiful enough. Maybe I'm not intelligent enough. All of these things were, let's say, worries that went around my head, but then they became beliefs. And I would say that I even tried to perform those things to try and impress someone who had already decided that they weren't impressed with me. I don't know. It was really crazy. And yeah, I started to uncover these behaviors, or experience behaviors like the silent treatment, like dismissiveness, gaslighting, minimization, triangulation. And to be on the receiving end of those things was just so jarring. And I constantly felt that I was unsafe. It was always up and down. It was very changeable, and I was always kind of reacting to that person's attitude towards me and believing that it was all my fault. And what's really important in these situations is that, when there are no children, there's no mortgage, there's no marriage, why do you still stay? There's no reason to stay. And that's something I would like to, highlight to anyone who's in that situation. If there's no reason to stay, you don't have any commitment, why are you staying? And it just seems to be this kind of invisible, I don't know what the word is, but there's something keeping you there, and it's yourself really, and you cannot see the possibility, and you start thinking, oh, well, it'll be okay again. And that really is the trauma bond, this thing called intermittent reward, which is a very toxic and powerful dynamic, which is like the same as when you go to a casino. It's like lose, 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 win, lose, 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 win. And that's what it's like when you're with someone like that. You are putting up with a lot of pain, a lot of dismissiveness, and then you kind of keep those good moments on a pedestal. Oh, but when it's good, it's really good. And that's not how it should be. It should be good most of the time. And when approaching conflict, I think conflict can be very healthy. I think conflict can help you air some of your feelings, your frustrations, and hopefully with someone who's prepared to listen and work with you, not be dismissive of them. Because if you really love someone, let's imagine you really love someone and something you have done has caused pain or discomfort to that person, a green flag would be, would be curiosity to find out, what did I say? What did I do that's made you feel this way? And how can I do better? That's how it should be, really, rather than silent treatment or being dismissive. And, it's just, And I felt for me, I felt that there was something wrong with me, that I was too much in some cases and not enough in others. And I was kind of oscillating between those two extremes of not enough and too muchness. And then I realized that those feelings or those dynamics were not exclusive to this particular relationship, that made me see these things in so much clarity. I think this experience came into my life to shed light on all the cracks that I've been carrying with me all my life, and that have come from a very young age. And I shared with you in a previous episode that recently I read my diary from when I lived in Paris, and it was very confronting to see my dynamics with men. And even the guy I was seeing when I was in Paris, he had some very toxic traits which were very similar to something I've experienced more recently. And I was just like, oh my God. And I was just trying to wake up to the fact that I haven't chosen healthy relationships, and I've put up with things which were not bringing me fulfillment at all. So as these whole experiences, they can teach you so much, but in life you don't want to be learning through pain all the time. But the psychology of narcissistic traits, it does fascinate me, and there's this big question of, are they aware that they are doing it? And that's the question that's recurring, and I think different people have different responses to that. But it's something that I just can't get my head around, why you would treat someone that way if you pretend to care about them. I just don't understand at all. But I started to really get curious about the dynamics of these toxic traits, and it became fascinating for me. I became a psychological detective, but I realized as well that I was hurting and I was in pain, and I had to make some changes so that I could learn to know that I deserve healthy love and healthy dynamics. And from all of the research that I did, I knew that I had to work with a therapist who was trained in this type of therapy or this type of dynamic, who knew about it. So I was on LinkedIn and I came across today's guest, and some of her content, her short videos, just really resonated with me. And as soon as I saw them, it was one of those things I put in my head. I thought, maybe I'll reach out to her one day. Maybe I'll reach out to her. And then time went by, and I got to a point where I was like, I need to reach out to her right now. So we connected back in, I think it was April, and it was just absolutely incredible. And I've done so much therapy in my life, and I've done so many healing things from psychological perspectives, from spiritual perspectives, and many of the guests who've been on this podcast have offered me free sessions and free coaching sessions and healing and therapy, etc. So I've done a lot of different things, but I would say this is the best thing I've ever done. RTT therapy with Emma Carter today, at today's guest. It's been how can you measure what's good? And I would say I'm talking about the transformation. There really was a before and after. And I've done, talk therapy, different therapies in the past. And sometimes, therapy can keep you in this loop of, oh, there's something wrong with me, I need to be fixed. Whereas what I love about this rapid transformational therapy, it was one session plus 21 days of an audio. And it was fascinating just to get to the root of why I had accepted certain dynamics in my life, and trying to rewrite my story and my beliefs. And what's interesting as well about therapy, which is not, it happened to me in this particular therapy that we did, or this therapeutic relationship that I established with Emma Carter, but I've had it with other people as well, is that the motive that that brings me or makes me want to do therapy is what actually unfolds during the session is something different. And I think that's quite common actually from my understanding of therapy. So sometimes you say, oh, I'm going because this is hurting me. But then when you start talking and uncovering things, it's something else entirely that really is the underlying problem, let's say, for lack of a better word. But that's exactly how it was for me. So even the reason why I had reached out to her wasn't what was discussed during our session. And we had a hypnotherapy session. We had a pre-session and to talk about what my goals were. And then we actually had the session, which I've done hypnotherapy before. And it's just amazing how the mind works and how, you can explore or even uncover things that you haven't quite forgotten about, but they've been buried in your mind for such a long time. And then she gave me a meditation that I listened to every single night it's supposed to be for 21 days, but I ended up listening to it for a month. I remember the first couple of nights I was very emotional listening to it. And then after a couple of days or weeks, I even fell asleep before the end. And sometimes when I didn't fall asleep before the end, I was like, yeah, this is cool. Yeah, this is what I want. So it wasn't just addressing, or releasing the obstacles that I was dealing with, but also what I wanted to replace those painful points with. And I just felt more and more empowered as time went by. And as the therapy or those 21 days or the month ended, I felt like such a different person. I mean, wow. And that's when you've really healed. I don't know if healing ever has an end to it, but when you are aware of that trigger and it does nothing to you, and you're not even feeling resentment, it's just indifference. And that's how I feel right now. And it's amazing. I just feel so good, so empowered. And all of my friends who've seen me go through this have really seen a difference as well. And I'm just so excited about life right now, because when you really, work on yourself, then your reality or what's around you definitely transforms as well. So I'm going to get into today's episode. I'm so excited to share this with you. This has been a really heartfelt episode that I'm sharing with you today, and also the meditation I've created today. It's a very long one. I'm not going to, it's very deep. Usually in my meditations, I keep them quite short, but this is a longer one. And I've really made it with a lot of love. And the meditation is affirmations for narcissistic abuse recovery. And it's in kind of 3 parts. The first part is about, acknowledging what you're in and why it's not working, like about red flags and how you deserve peace. And then the second part is more about healing. And the third part is about, choosing new love. Because the thing is, you want to be able to get to the root of why you're choosing or attracting certain things, so that you can have awareness about it and then, choose better in the future. Because, I do believe in love. I do believe in romance. And I think, a healthy relationship can add so much value to your life, and it can expand you. And that person can be your comfort, your support. They shouldn't be the cause of your sadness, your frustration, etc. And there's something really wrong if we are choosing people who are making us feel terrible just because once in a while they make us feel great. That's just not how it's supposed to be. And I'm on a mission with this episode, and I hope you find it inspiring. And if you know someone who is going through this, please share it with them. I'm someone who I've been online for 17 years, and I never ask anyone to share my work. But I'm going to make an exception today, because this is a very important topic. If you know someone who is going through this, if you're going through a toxic relationship or healing from it, then please share. Anyway, hope you like the interview today, and I hope you find it insightful. If you enjoy the affirmations and meditations I share here, you will love the longer versions I've created on Insight Timer, the world's #1 meditation app, available in the App Store and on Google Play. Every Friday, I release a brand new guided practice on topics like love, health, wealth, motivation, abundance, and many more things, all designed to help you relax, recharge, and realign. Just search for Venus O'Hara on Insight Timer or follow the link in the show notes. Now it's time for this episode's interview. We speak with Emma Carter, who is a rapid transformational therapist. Yay. Emma Carter, welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast. It's a real pleasure to have you here. How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure,
Thank you for having
my
me.
pleasure.
Very excited.
Excellent. So for those who are unfamiliar with your work, could you tell us what you do?
I do interactive hypnosis. So I am basically looking for the root cause of any issue or problem that somebody has. So rather than treating the symptoms, I'm going back with them to find where did it start, look at it from a different perspective, reframe it, and then leave people feeling a lot better, because a lot of things started in childhood. So I basically work with the subconscious mind, which is where all the patterns, conditioning, programming started. And it's, a lot of people come to me with, they think they know how to solve a problem, but this is the critical thinking part of the mind. So I go deeper, work with the subconscious mind. It's very exciting.
Amazing. So what inspired you to follow this path?
I've always been interested in the mind. I've had my own life experiences that were at times extremely challenging. And I've had different careers. I've worked with children, estate agency, hospitality, but my passion was always people. I love people. I love talking to people, understanding people. Everybody has different lives, different opinions on things. And it's just so interesting. And I think going through my own experiences, I just felt this overwhelming need to help others. So that's what I do. I love my job. So mainly it's rapid transformational therapy, which it's quicker. So unlike a talking therapy, it doesn't go on for months and months because we're finding that root cause. I'm not knocking any therapies, talking therapy is great, but I love it because it really gets to the cause of the problem rather than treating the symptom. And I love what I do. I really do.
Amazing. I'm curious, is hypnosis and hypnotherapy the same thing?
Hypnosis there are different types. A lot of hypnosis is where kind of affirmations are, people are taken into a deeper state, so a more relaxed state, and different affirmations and positivity is spoken to the person. So their subconscious mind, because they're so relaxed, can take that in a lot more than having this thinking mind active. So we're bypassing that critical factor, as they call it. With hypnotherapy and interactive hypnosis, we're talking throughout. So we're actually looking at the patterns and the whys and the feelings that were felt at the time, and the person's talking back. So there is a conversation, even though it's under hypnosis, which is just a relaxed state. It's nothing to be scared of with hypnosis. It's just a relaxed state where, the subconscious knows the truth. It knows everything.
So I'm one of your success stories, which I'm very grateful for. And last year, or I think it was last year, I did so many different therapies, and I've done talk therapy in the past. And a lot of the time when I've done talk therapy at different moments of my life, the motive for starting was very different from what actually came up in the sessions. And that was the same with our experience. Is that common?
Very common, very common. because again, if we're talking about this thinking mind, which is 5% of our mind,
Mm.
it's based on, we're kind of reacting to external things, and but it's actually being driven from the subconscious, which is 95%. So we think we know what the problem is. You know, we can read the books, we can do a lot of work on ourselves and think, ah, yes, I understand that, I get that, that resonates with me. This is what I need to be doing differently, or maybe I did that wrong in the past. And they get ideas, which is great, but it's still
Mm.
being driven, their actions are still being driven, and their reactions by the patterns that were created often in childhood. So
Mm.
unless we address those, the actual problem isn't going to go away.
Mm.
And again, it's like treating symptoms. The doctors are great. We're so lucky to have doctors. We're so lucky to have medication.
Mm.
And I would never knock that. I'm so grateful for that. But it isn't treating the underlying cause of why those symptoms are occurring.
Mm. Because I found when I was doing talk therapy at different times in my life, it was keeping me back to my 5-year-old self, my 8-year-old self. But there was nothing solution based. It was just focused on the past, and it just felt like a loop. And I think with our
And those
experience,
looping thoughts, they go round and round and round,
yeah,
don't
because
they?
if you keep
Yeah.
digging, you're going to find more stuff. And it just gets to the point
Yes.
where, is this empowering? Is this actually helping you in
Mhm.
your day-to-day life? But I found with your methods, it was very different. It was like kind of like rewriting or reframing those memories. Is that
It,
how it is?
it is. It's, we can empower ourselves to a certain extent, but
Mm.
without treating that cause of why it's happening, you're limited on how far you can go. So what I do is I want to create a freedom within the person. So we're eliminating, erasing, eradicating the patterns that are keeping people stuck.
Mm.
Because a lot of people mention the layers of the onion, don't they?
Mm.
Talking therapy is great. You can peel them back, and with this thinking mind, talk about them, which is great to talk about things. But yes, it can keep you in a almost, I keep talking about it, so I'm almost hypnotizing myself and reinforcing those pathways of this is the way it is. So there's only so far you can go without going a little bit further, a little bit deeper, and making sure that
Mm.
we're really finding, where did it start at the beginning?
Mm.
That's what we want to deal with.
Definitely.
Yes.
So I came across you on LinkedIn actually, and some of your
Yes.
content really resonated with me. You're making content about specifically narcissistic abuse, and this is something that we hear a lot now in
Mhm.
social media. What do you think about this term and how it's become so prevalent? Do you think the word's being overused, or is it true that there is so much more narcissistic abuse now, or is it simply there's greater awareness of something that's always existed?
I feel it possibly is overused.
Mm.
Um, I'm not particularly keen on labels. A
Mm.
narcissist is a label, as in
Mm.
ADHD or bipolar, or all of these labels. They can not only keep people stuck, but from somebody else's point of view, the person is then seen as that. This
Mm.
is the person with ADHD. This is the narcissist. So it's generalizing, isn't it? So
Mm.
we can say yes, narcissist. We can say people with narcissistic personality disorder, but these are just words. So
Mm.
I think we have to be careful how we use it,
Mm.
but it is kind of describing what's happening. Did you also ask, what else
Uh,
did you ask there?
but I think it's also about for me the way I see it is like the behaviors, because even if someone doesn't actually have that label, I
Mm,
think for me it's like focusing on my experience as a recipient of those behaviors. So it's doesn't I'm
mm.
not trying to label anyone in my life with those labels, because that's not my place to do that. But I feel that even if someone has that personality disorder, it doesn't really matter, because if you're enduring those behaviors, you're still kind of experiencing that, those.
You are,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, that's what's known as toxic relationship, isn't it? Where there's an
Mm.
imbalance.
Mm.
of, it should be 50-50, give and take. Some people, sometimes you're going to have problems and challenges within a
Mm.
relationship. But if there's more control on one side than the other,
Mm.
and there's certain traits and tendencies that narcissistic people tend to have,
Mm.
that imbalance is what causes problems. And over time, I think, I don't like to use the word victim, but I will, the victim of,
Mm.
somebody that's been with somebody who is narcissistic, they tend to lose their voice, they quieten down even more. And it's very difficult for them to break out of such a relationship for a number of reasons, especially if there's children involved, and many, many reasons there. But it's important that we talk about it. I
Mm.
have more and more people coming to me
Mm.
asking about, can you help me with this?
Mm.
And it's not just women either, it's men. So we shouldn't just say this is a woman's problem, but I think it's mainly women from my own experience, but it does happen to men as well. It's all
Mm.
about, we're all human beings, aren't we?
Mm.
So it's about empowering the
Mm.
person who is struggling in the relationship.
So what kind of
But
behaviors should they look out for, do you think? What kind of behaviors are known as being narcissistic?
control is a big one. So
Mm.
control can take the form of, financial control, emotional control, sexual control. Often the person's friends, they'll be isolated from their friends and family because the narcissistic person will make friends with them. They will make sure that they have people on their side, they have their tribe. So it becomes even more difficult then for the other
Mm.
person in the relationship to reach out to friends and family, which would normally be their lifeline. That's their main point of contact for help.
Mm.
And it becomes more and more difficult because they are seen as being crazy or psychotic, or how can that be when this person you're with is so wonderful?
Mm.
So
Because they can also be
again, their
charming.
voice, they get quieter and quieter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
making people aware, it's very important.
Mm.
So there's different levels really, because a lot of people are in these relationships and are not aware. So
Mm.
going on to social media, for example, and people like Richard Grannon, and there's people talking about this.
Mm.
So people are becoming more aware, I think, but becoming aware doesn't change anything. So then we need to look at, okay, how can we? It's all about working with the person, though. So we're not here to blame the narcissist. We're not here to take revenge.
Mm.
It's empowering the person that's in the relationship to finally believe in themselves again, to maybe realize what's happening,
Mm.
and give them empowering ways to, say, this is not okay. I'm
Mm.
worth more than this.
Definitely, because I think that the problem with emotional abuse is that it can be silent and there's no kind of big violent outbursts a lot of the time. And some people think, oh, because it didn't hit me, it didn't do this, it's not that bad. And people try to justify it in their minds that, oh, maybe I'm the problem.
Yes. And it's very
Mm.
subtle. It's
Yeah.
often very
Mm.
subtle and builds up over time as well.
Definitely.
And then you have, sometimes the people are loving and kind and compassionate and want to help and want to raise you, want to love you.
Mm.
And then at other times they don't, they withdraw, they take that away. So it's almost like an addiction where you have this love, you have everything that you ever wanted, particularly for people that didn't have that in their childhood from their parents, for example.
Mm.
They need it. So they have it, then it's taken away. So they crave it. So they go back. And that's the control imbalance. That's where it
Yeah.
begins.
Yeah.
But yes, it can be very, very subtle, uh,
Mm.
but very damaging over time.
Absolutely. And what you mentioned about the erosion, that definitely speaks to me. But when something that I'm thinking as a single child-free woman, um, I just wonder why so many people stay in these dynamics when they don't need to. For example, if you're not co-parenting with someone, you're not working with someone, but we're still choosing to be in these dynamics. And that's one reason I wanted to have this interview with you today to kind of wake people up who are in those dynamics to kind of try and take their power back, because you don't have to be in that situation, and it's up to you to kind of decide to end it.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
obviously, if there are children and financial
Mm.
dependence on the person, it is more difficult.
Mm.
But if we take those things away, people crave love. We all
Mm.
need to be seen and heard.
Mm.
And if that wasn't shown as a child, it does come back to childhood or younger years, certainly. If that wasn't shown then they people learn the patterns. They learn patterns that are holding them back. They think, well, okay, if I do everything for somebody, if I take care of them, if I do as much as I can, then I will get love. But that's not unconditional love. What we need is unconditional love. What we deserve is unconditional love. We are actually loved unconditionally. But those patterns, they go through to adulthood where they don't feel that love. They've never had that love that they needed, and that they're craving it. So any attention from somebody is seen as good.
Mm.
Even if it's sexual attention, a lot of people confuse that with love because of that intimacy there.
Mm.
But it's really the patterns that have been created. We are programmed and conditioned to act a certain way, to respond a certain way. We are triggered by certain things because it takes us back to how we felt when something similar happened when we were younger. So
Mm.
again, that's the work I do. We need to be looking at, where did this start? Let's pinpoint where this started.
Mm.
Let's really look at that and talk about that. But it's a very quick way of doing it if we can pinpoint where, because it exposes, not exposes, it's easier to understand why then a person would stay with somebody.
Mm.
They can understand it themselves. So I
And
can never tell anybody where to go. I can only guide. I never know where
mm.
somebody's going to go and the things that they need to find out.
Mm.
Only they know that. I haven't lived their life. I haven't had their experiences, but I guide them to find what they need. And that's when we can move on. So free them, then they become empowered.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because I found that hope is like one of the is a I've in my experience, I've come to believe that hope is a very disempowering emotion. Because staying in that
Hope.
loop, yeah, because it's just like that's why I
Why
was
explain that? That's interesting.
because I think you have this hope that it's going to get better, and you put the good times on a pedestal, because it's like the casino thing. It's like lose, win, lose, win, the intermittent
Yes.
reward,
Yeah.
and you tend to put that high on a pedestal, and it doesn't
Mhm.
deserve that ranking at all. And we
No.
can just be, um, yeah, and maybe thinking that we're the problem as well, and that we need to make more effort. That's the trap, I think, making more effort
Yes.
to get this person's acceptance when it should be
Yes.
your own acceptance.
Exactly. So it comes down to a feeling, an internal feeling of, I'm not good enough, generally,
Mm.
whether that's felt consciously or not.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, it's an inner feeling of, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy,
Mm.
I don't belong. Is another one, a big one. And actually, we kind of lose this, we lose touch of who we are as human beings. When people say we are all one, we are loved unconditionally. Actually, if you get right back down to what a human being is, we are made of kindness, compassion. This is what we are. We are love, but it's been so hidden by social media, too much information. Social media, that's another whole
Yeah, we'll talk
topic,
about that. Yeah.
isn't it? But there are men and women being influenced by social media, which isn't
Mm.
helping, I don't think, to the controlling and the toxic relationships, people's
Mm.
sense of self-worth.
Yeah, I do think curating your feed can help, but now the algorithms have changed a lot on Instagram, so you're getting shown a lot of things that you're not really interested in, or you don't follow. But I must confess, I must say that social media has helped me a lot.
Mhm.
Just I've seen so many, these carousels about narcissism. Maybe it's a bit overused,
Yeah.
but I think it's great that these creators are raising awareness this way. And what about one question that's kind of a recurring question is, do you think they know? I mean, obviously people have different answers for this, but I just wonder how aware these people are of these are behaviors and this entitlement of, I'm the one who knows I'm right and you have to adhere to my rules. And I just wonder how much awareness there is there.
Probably a lot more than
Mm.
probably quite a lot,
Yeah.
but not necessarily always. I don't have the answer to that. I think there's many know exactly what they're doing, extremely manipulative,
Do you think it comes
extremely
down to kind of
subtle.
like entitlement more than malice? Do they think they actually believe this is how it should be rather than I'm aware I'm doing something cruel? That's how I think it is. I don't know. That's
Yeah,
my
they
experience.
don't tend to feel they have a problem, do they?
Mm,
Which is why I personally wouldn't or couldn't work with a narcissist because they don't believe they have a problem.
yeah.
And I can only work with people that need help.
Mm,
So they very rarely ask for help because they don't need it because they've got everything and they think they are pretty perfect, some of them, yeah.
mm.
But there's a sense of humility, lack of humility, I think, lack of empathy.
Absolutely. That's a
Lack of
big one.
empathy, that's a big one.
That's a huge one.
Yeah,
Um,
they find it very difficult to put themselves in somebody else's shoes and see something from that person's point of view. They
yeah.
can't feel that.
And
And I
no
actually think they
curiosity of
can't. I mean,
impact.
we're not here to get at these people too much. We just want to help the people that are in these relationships.
Mm.
But I actually don't think that they are capable of doing that and seeing something from somebody else's point of view.
Yeah, and also the curiosity of the impact of their behaviors when they are witnessing, someone crying, someone having a negative reaction to something they've done and just not caring. As for myself, I would consider myself to be highly empathetic.
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
worst thing is another trap is that you can end up having empathy and sympathy for the narcissistic person. Oh, they had a
yes,
terrible childhood, or
yes,
they
yeah.
were a wounded child and I want to help them,
Mm.
and just kind of abandoning yourself, this self-abandonment.
Yeah, there's different ways to approach it. I mean, a lot of people find their strength in anger and in revenge
Mm,
in the early days because
mm,
that's what is helping them to get out of the situation they're in.
mm,
So, that's okay to a certain extent. They have to
mm,
be angry.
mm,
Underlying that is a lot of hurt, but that anger can give them a little bit of strength in the beginning.
mm,
But
mm.
we're not talking about here how to help the narcissist, are we? We're talking about how can we help the people that are in a relationship with them.
Yeah.
And it's not even just intimate relationships, is it? Or partners, it's
Mm,
parents, it's friends, these relationships are everywhere. In the
absolutely.
workplace,
Mm,
there's a huge imbalance there, isn't there? Control in the workplace. And people are
definitely.
suffering, burnout, overwhelmed, they thinking
Mm,
that not good enough, trying to do too much. And they have these people just trying to control them and not yeah, they're not being seen, not being heard. Again, where does that start? But
mm,
yeah,
mm,
there's help. There's definitely help. There is no need to be in a relationship. I'll take that back a little bit. Some of these narcissistic relationships, there is a danger that if people speak up too much, too quickly,
mm,
especially again where children are involved, etc., then we have to be careful what we're saying. Just to be strong and stand up for yourself. It's not
mm,
that simple. Every case is individual,
mm,
but certainly there are ways out and there's definitely help and there's definitely a big wide world out there of wonderful people wanting to help people. So just that awareness, are you in a relationship like this? Don't feel it's forever.
yeah.
It's
You know,
not.
you inspired me to write this Substack post about that because obviously you and I have never met in person, but I was listening to the audio. We'll talk about your process in a moment. The audio that you made for me, and I was just thinking, this is so beautiful that a woman I don't and haven't met personally is helping me. And I also make meditations for my coaching clients. I just thought
Yeah.
this wonderful, beautiful chain that's of help and uplifting. and
Mm.
and whereas you're allowing access to someone who doesn't have that intention, a really privileged access in your life, and it's just so messed up. you know
Yeah. Did
yeah,
you find the process? How did you find the process then? I put
really
stuff, put
interesting.
process, but it was, we worked together for a little while, didn't we?
Yeah, so let's just outline your process. So first of all, we had a call, just a discovery call, and then we had a pre. Do you want to outline your method, or how you work? and I can
Yes, we
share
had a
my
first chat,
perspective.
didn't we? The discovery
Mm,
call, and then we had about a 45-minute
mm,
Zoom call. So we just went into a little bit more depth. What are the issues, symptoms, triggers,
mm,
a little bit more about you and your past, and also looked at what would life look like without the problem, which is really important. We're not just
mm,
dealing with the problem. Once we've done that, where are we going next? Where do you want to be? What would life look like? And really, you know, get some good keywords on that to put into the audio as well.
mm,
What is it that you want? Why are we doing this? So yes, then we have the RTT session.
mm,
So I won't go into detail there, but that lasted about 2 hours, just under 2 hours. So
mm,
it's just a very deep relaxation,
mm,
and we go to the causes. We feel the feelings, which is
mm,
nothing scary. It's
mm,
okay to feel feelings, and we look at a few of the things that may have caused certain issues.
mm,
And then that's reframed, turned around. We ended on a good note. It was all positive. And then that was put into an audio that you've now
mm,
listened to for 21 days. So that's specific to you.
mm,
And it's all full of positive things,
mm.
kind of, covering what we talked about, but flipping it and adding in what you want life to look like.
I listened to it every night before bed for actually a month.
Did you?
So yeah, so the
Yeah,
first night was kind of quite emotional. I was kind of crying throughout it, but then it just got to I kind of started falling asleep before the end.
which is okay. It's still going into the subconscious mind. It's fine.
And then some nights when I actually heard it, I was like, "Yeah, this is pretty cool. This is cool. Yeah, I want my life to look like this." And then I thought of doing it. I just felt like I should do it more than 21 days. I wanted to kind of really have those messages really
Yeah, there's
ingrained.
no limit. You're just
Yeah,
rewiring your
yeah,
conscious mind so it doesn't undo the work we did. Because otherwise, you sometimes get these old thoughts that
mm,
keep popping in. We don't want that. We're changing that, creating new neural pathways in your mind. And
mm,
yeah, it takes about 21 days to do that.
mm. So I did about 30 days or 31
Yeah,
days maybe. And by the end, I just thought I'm okay now because I felt like I had detached from the initial problem that I had or limitation. And it's interesting because without going into too many details, that the why I reached out to you was just discussed during our discovery call at the beginning. But then in the session, it wasn't mentioned at all. It was just very much going back to childhood where these patterns emerged, etc.
yeah,
But I found that by rewiring that, I just felt a lot more empowered. I felt so empowered as an individual. And something that was a really big insight for me was I've always been good. I mean, I think I was treated like the
yeah.
naughty child all the time, and my feelings were just completely disregarded. I don't matter. Just shut up and be quiet. Stop
Mm.
kicking up the fuss. And now I thought I'm taking up space, and I've really been taking up space in my life, and the life has been showing me so many blessings since then. And it's interesting, by going back there, the initial reason why I reached out to you has completely resolved itself now without even
Mm.
mentioning it in the actual session or in the audio. And I just feel like a different person. I feel like a whole different perspective. Like I've woken up.
Fantastic.
Is that quite
Brilliant.
common where, you just kind of get to the core? Is that that's the objective, I suppose, isn't
That's
it?
the objective. We get to the
Mm,
core.
yeah.
Yes, that's the most important bit.
Hmm.
And people avoid it, don't they? They avoid going into the past. And we're not revisiting any trauma. It's not,
Mm.
we didn't revisit trauma, did we?
No, no, it's very
We
simple
were
things, but I'd
just
forgotten
very
about.
simple, very
Yeah.
simple. But it's also feeling the feelings. And then we change that around. You look at it
Mm,
from an adult's perspective. Why did that child feel like that at that point in time? And it
mm,
just becomes more clear. And it's a release as well. So by releasing emotions, or releasing emotions, this is a good thing, because then it allows space for other things to come in.
mm.
And like you said, the original problem kind of just disappeared.
Yeah.
That's ideal. There's other new things coming in that are going to serve you more, serve you better in your life. So this is what we want. We want to free ourselves from the programming, the conditioning, the weight of the world and the pressure on us. We want to free ourselves. And then we find that soul power. It's
Mm.
there in all of us. It's just there. And then that's kind of released and we feel empowered, and it comes naturally. We're not forcing it anymore.
Yeah, and also the healing just feels more alluring than staying back in that loop. Because some people, some people want to stay in the loop. Because I've noticed other people, friends going through something similar, and you try and offer them solutions, but they're still want there's something keeping them in that loop. You
Yes,
know?
it's familiarity, it's
Yeah,
safety. They've
yeah,
learned that by this is the story. It's same with the relationships. I'm safer in this relationship.
mm,
The outside world is scary. I'm safer in this looping thought because it's all I know. The mind will always go back to what's familiar
mm,
because from years and years and years ago, tribal times, that's what we were designed for. We stay with the group, we stay with what we know. Don't venture out, it's dangerous. So
mm,
there's a comfort and a safety in being in that position to a certain extent.
definitely.
But but it doesn't have to be a dramatic change, but just taking that step and becoming aware of what's happening and aware of the reasons why you have these looping thoughts, acknowledging that it is to keep, or your mind thinks it's to keep you safe. It's just
Mm,
familiar.
mm,
So there's ways out of this, though. Like
mm.
there's a great big massive wide world out there that's beautiful. We don't need to be stuck in these toxic relationships.
Yeah, the message I wanted to share with anyone who's listening to this is just that to have a tribe of people who want to uplift you and don't
Yes,
give so much access to these people who don't. And that's really
yes,
what I want people to take away from this.
yeah.
Mm,
Your
mm,
circle, you need to be with people that raise people.
yeah.
They're the people you want to be with. If you're
Mm,
not, then you don't have to be.
yeah.
You can change that. Mm.
So we touched on social media earlier. What are your thoughts on AI and how people are using AI as therapy? I know it's a very risky thing, but I have to
Yeah.
confess that it helped me so much to identify the dynamics that I was in because I thought there was something wrong with me. And so I started to analyze conversations that I was having and receiving messages that I was receiving. And I came across all of these words that I didn't even know, like minimization, triangulation,
Mm,
confabulation. I mean,
mm,
all these things. But I was like, and I went down this rabbit hole, and I've seen from Richard Grannon's content that it's quite common that when you're in this dynamic, you start to become, and when you first have this awareness, you start to become like a psychology detective almost, and it kind of you go down
yeah.
these rabbit holes. Learning it's fascinating. I mean, I
It
mean,
is fascinating.
yeah.
Yes, AI is so informative. We can learn so much from AI. There's no
Mm,
denying that, is there? And it's so, I don't want to say intelligent, it's technology, but it is very clever
yeah.
and very helpful. And it's a comfort to people, isn't
Mm,
it? It's reassurance.
yeah.
It's when people rely on it too much, it can become a problem.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
doesn't have emotions, but it comes across as being emotional and understanding the emotions, but it is just still repeating words. There's no emotion there. So we've got to
mm,
be careful, I think, with that. Some people,
mm,
as we know, there's been some stories of suicides and things like that where they trusted AI as their therapist too much. It isn't a
definitely.
human being. You're not feeling the energy. You're not
Mm,
really understanding the person talking to it. But I'm not knocking it for
mm,
learning and yeah, and even helping in these relationships.
mm.
You can analyze somebody's text, can't you? It'll give you an opinion, and actually you can think,
And
I didn't
examples.
realize that. Mm,
Yeah, and also, and I did it with my own messaging as well because I thought it was interesting to see what I'm putting out there, So because
yeah.
I always came back with me with I'm looking for reconciliation, I'm kind of,
Mm,
empathy and stuff. And what I've noticed was what AI picked up, and even myself was like dismissiveness is very common. It's the opposite of empathy. It's like, oh, your feelings don't matter, or your feelings aren't real. And also the
yes.
grandiosity, this kind of like I'm the one who knows and you don't kind
Mm,
of thing. Those are things that I picked up. But what I found interesting with AI is that is how its ability to pick up patterns, because some things I'd forgotten I'd told it it gets repeated, and I'm like, oh, I'd forgotten about that,
Yes.
thank you. You know, that was
Yeah,
quite useful actually. Mm,
it is. So I'm not knocking it for certain things, but we just need to use it as a tool and not
mm.
as a life partner.
Yeah, because I found a difference between my personal experience with ChatGPT was like a yes man, but Claude was actually telling me to find a like trauma informed therapist. Was saying, you know, I've
Right.
heard you
Okay.
for so many weeks, you got to like find a therapist now. Stop!
Well, I
I'm not
can't help
telling you
you anymore.
anymore.
Off you go.
So Claude's like,
Come
cool.
back to me when you've
Claude is
done.
like, Claude is like your BFF. It's well, that take that as with a big pink pinch of salt, but it was very I thought it was pretty good advice, really. And I think it's from what the work I've seen with Richard Grannon, you know, when you're in these dynamics, it's not just about finding any therapist, it's about finding someone who knows about these dynamics specifically. And that's when I saw your content on LinkedIn, that's why I reached out to you. Could you tell us anything about that and how important that is if someone's in this? It's not just getting any old therapist. It's kind of like has to be someone who understands these dynamics.
It does. You know, all therapy is good if it's done well. I think
Mm,
it is important to find the person that you connect with.
mm,
So, which is why I always do a discovery call first or a clarity
mm,
call, or, you know, just to, it's not just about me explaining what I do, but it's just to meet the person, you know, have an informal chat and just chat
mm,
like human beings and just find out what's going on and where do we need to be and, you know, the way forward. But I'd
mm,
certainly suggest or recommend speaking to the therapist first. Don't just commit to any therapist. I think it's very important. And
mm,
you need to know that they understand your situation, what you're going through,
mm,
and be able to take you to that place that you need to go to be able to move out of it and live the rest of your life well.
mm,
So some people need to talk, you know, as well. I'm not, again, not knocking any therapy. Talking therapy is good. And sometimes I do that with clients because they need to speak for a while. They need to talk about it for a while. They need to be seen and heard.
mm,
But also, my job is to get the problem sorted as soon as possible at a
mm,
pace that is right for the client.
mm.
So, yes, you know, if anything is resonating, you know, just get in touch. Obviously, I'm here and I love my job and I love helping people.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to be in a situation that they're happy in.
Definitely. And also for me, like removing this or resolving this problem, has just made me see a bigger picture. It's incredible. It's quite amazing. Just in 1 month, I've just been feeling so good, so good.
Good, good,
But
good.
going back to
It's amazing working with you.
yeah, and I'll share more in my monologue before the interview. So going back to LinkedIn, which is where I discovered you,
Mm.
how do you think the aware having why is it important to have awareness of these dynamics on a platform like LinkedIn, which is more about professional life?
LinkedIn, these dynamics are happening everywhere, aren't they?
Mm,
So a lot of clients that are in intimate relationships or parents and they have these issues, they tend to come from Instagram, Facebook,
mm,
things like that. But LinkedIn seems to be more formal. I'm not an expert on LinkedIn, but I've spoken to amazing people on LinkedIn. Everybody is human. Doesn't matter
mm,
what they're doing, what profession they're in, everybody is human and everybody has very similar challenges.
mm,
And the toxic relationship thing goes well with LinkedIn because there's a lot of burnout, there's a lot of overwhelm there, there's a lot of dynamics going on. So, you know, I talk to people from all different backgrounds doing different things that wouldn't necessarily see me or know that I offer this help because they're not on Instagram or
mm,
the other platforms. So, you know, yeah, LinkedIn, I've had quite a few people from LinkedIn that have
mm,
got in touch, but that's more about the overwhelm burnout side. But it
mm.
comes down to the same thing.
Mm.
You know, how to handle the relationships that they're in, how to have better relationship, how to communicate better, how to set boundaries, how to say no.
Mm.
And why is that not happening? Where did that begin? So it's all
Mm.
the same thing, really, just different platforms and people
Mm.
putting different things on there. But it's about awareness. It's about, letting people know, are you in this relationship? Can you see the signs? Are you aware of them? Because that's when we can take the steps forward.
But also, people who, are seeing your content on LinkedIn, it's not just about, resonating from like the work dynamics they have. It's also personal dynamics, and that can really impact your work life as well,
Yes, yes.
Mm.
Yeah. So when I say, we're all human, we all have
Mm.
partners, friends, family, children, parents, so
Mm.
it's yes, it does affect it.
Mm.
If somebody's in that, both ways actually, if they're in a job where they're in this toxic relationship, that's going to have an effect on all the people around them outside of work.
Yeah.
If they're having problems within the family environment, say, that's going to affect people around them in their career. So
Mm.
it's relationships in general. Let's look out for the signs, watch out for the signs. Am I being manipulated? Am I being even just taken for granted at a lower level? Is
Mm.
this actually abuse? Am I being controlled?
Mm.
Just being aware is key. Yeah.
Definitely. So where can people find you?
So emmacarter.com is the
Mm.
easiest way. So my website, on there is a link to my social media, ways to contact me. So if you want to have an informal chat, that's absolutely fine. Some people do that actually, and it helps so much that we don't do any more work together. That's
Mm.
free. Just get in touch and we'll book a call.
Mm.
But emmacarter.com is the best
Mm.
best place. And on there actually there's an audio. So it's Reclaim Your Voice audio, which is
Mm.
like a guided reset. So it helps with boundaries and self-worth, things like that. I think your viewers might find that really helpful. And there's also a written PDF on there as well, with
Mm.
ways to, understand if you are in a toxic relationship and how to break free from those patterns. So emmacarter.com, it's all on there.
Fantastic. Any final words you want to share with our audience? Any final
Just
message?
believe in yourselves, don't doubt yourselves. Wherever you're at in life, you're there for a reason. Just accept it, but don't accept the situation that you're in.
Mm.
So as human beings, we are incredible. Sometimes it feels difficult to think of changing, but change is where the freedom is. That
Mm.
transformation, it's possible. People are doing it all the time. They're choosing not to live in these restricted uh, lives and situations. You don't need to. Just believe in yourself. You have the strength within you already. It's just setting that free.
Mm.
Just go and enjoy the world.
Love that. It's a
And
great
I'm here to
message.
help. I'm here to help. If anybody wants to have that chat, absolutely. I'd love to hear from you.
Amazing. Also share your website in our show notes as well. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the Orgasmic Lifestyle. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you for having me, Venus. Thank you. Really enjoyed it.
I'm currently not reading any books. Well, so I wanted to share a little bit of a different book review section with you today. I wanted to share 3 books that have really helped me get over narcissistic abuse. So the first one is Things No One Taught Us About Love: How to Build Healthy Relationships with Yourself and Others. And this is by Vex King. This book has to be one of the best books I've ever read about love, and I recommend it to anyone at any stage of their love life, especially for breakups, no matter what type of breakup you've been through. I think it's really nice to explore what healthy love looks like, what self-love looks like, boundaries and attachment styles, and how we attach as well. And there's an interesting concept in here about attachment styles and detachment. So it's quite interesting. And also what I really remember about this book is about how he describes the love. It's like someone, or how we understand the feeling of falling in love with someone. And I think we have to, if we believe that our nature is love, it's like someone is pressing this button in us that's reminding us of this essence. It's aliveness, joy. There can be so many positives about it. It just brightens up your day. Seeing their name on your phone, it's like, wow. Obviously, when everything's going well, it's like that. And then when it's not, it can be the opposite. But the idea is to try and find a kind of like more happy medium, let's say. But that feeling of pure aliveness and joy is not something that the other person gives you. It's something that you have. It's you. It's your essence. They might be, highlighting it or provoking it in a nice way, but we have to remember that we are the love that we're bringing to all our relationships. And I think that's kind of a really nice way to reframe it. And about self-love and just becoming the person that you want to attract as well, and how they go through conflict and breakup is really good. It's a really, really nice book to read, and I've recommended this to other friends who've been through similar experiences, and they also think it's amazing. So I really, really recommend this book. And even if you have a healthy relationship, I think it's good for anyone to kind of reevaluate or really explore the things no one taught us about love, because we don't get love education. We get some limited sex education, but it's so important to actually understand relational dynamics, because they can really bring joy or not joy to your life. And of course, when you're creating families, etc., it's really important to kind of create the most healthy container you can, and also have the tools to overcome conflict, etc. The next book I read, which I've also featured on here, is by Richard Grannon, A Cult of One, How to Deprogram Yourself from Narcissistic Abuse. And Richard Grannon is a very straight-talking British creator who talks a lot about narcissistic abuse. And I love his straightforwardness, his directness in his approach. And he really knows his stuff. And also, I think I would call it tough love almost, but he's very, very straight talking, very different from a lot of the other people that I've seen talk about this topic. And in his book, even though it says how to deprogram yourself, it's a lot of it is about his own story. And I didn't quite understand the title, A Cult of One, at first. But when he described it, it's like, oh yeah, how could I not see that? And the Cult of One is like, basically you're the cult follower and you're the one member of the cult, and they're the guru, and you're like really putting this person on a pedestal, thinking they're amazing, giving them way too much importance in your life and credibility that they did not ask for and probably don't deserve either. So this is a really, really great book, and it kind of calls out the codependence of the so-called empath as well. So it's a lot of self-responsibility in this book, which I think is very, very important. Obviously, you need to have some self-compassion, but also it's only you who's going to make you feel better. And last but not least, the most recent book I read about this is You're Not the Problem, The Impact of Narcissism and Emotional Abuse and How to Heal. And this is by Helen Villiers. I don't know if I pronounced her name right. I'm a French speaker, so Villiers. And Katie McKenna. And I actually started following Helen. I didn't realize that she was a psychologist expert in this topic, because I discovered a channel that she's on called Luxury Academy, and I love this channel. Anyone who's interested in the luxury marketing and just the luxury sector in general, it's fantastic. I got curious about who she was, and then I've discovered, oh my god, she's got this whole other side that I didn't even know. So reading this book had stuff in it that I had not seen on all the other materials that I've seen about narcissistic abuse. And in here it talks about coming from narcissistic families as well, because it's not just a romantic partner. You could have a narcissistic boss, could be a sibling, a parent. It might be someone in your life that you can't really avoid totally. And how these dynamics, how we react to them, if you've experienced this in childhood, and how that affects your adult relationships. So it's very interesting. I'd say it's given me a perspective that other things haven't. And I highly recommend this book. And yeah, I think it's fantastic. But I'm done with my research about this topic now. I think I'm finally over it. Yay! And I have such a new understanding of relationships right now, and I'm glad I have this understanding, but it's been very painful. But yeah, I feel I can hug myself. and know that I deserve all the love, to receive all the love that I can give, because I'm a very, very I'm a nurturing person. But I'm right now, I don't have the clarity on what I actually want next. I'm just really pouring into myself right now and trying to think about what's the life I want to create for myself. And hopefully I'll meet someone on the way, but I'm not going to self-abandon, which isn't a word I haven't really used today in our episode, which is something that I was very quick to do in my life, and that has to stop. Anyway, so those are 3 books that I recommend, and yeah, so voila. And now I hope you enjoy the meditation I've created for you, made with so much love. Now it's time for this episode's meditation. Please don't listen to this while driving or operating machinery. Instead, take a break from whatever you're doing, get comfortable, take a deep breath, and enjoy. I honor my voice, my feelings, and my truth. My compassion begins with myself. I recognize red flags with clarity. My discernment grows stronger every day. I honor my instincts and inner knowing. My truth sets me free. I reclaim my power with every choice I make. I release trauma bonds with love and compassion. I release patterns that no longer serve my highest good. I release toxic patterns and welcome healthy love. I choose emotional freedom. My peace is my priority. I honor my needs with courage and self-respect. My boundaries are clear, confident, and respected. Every boundary strengthens my self-love. I choose peace over chaos. I choose clarity over confusion. Healing expands through every breath I take. Every day I grow stronger, freer, and more peaceful. My future is brighter than my past. My future reflects my healing and growth. My confidence grows stronger every day. I am worthy of genuine love. I deserve respect, kindness, and reciprocity. I shine with confidence and self-love. I choose self-love every day. Every experience strengthens my wisdom. Every experience expands my self-awareness. I honor my intuition as sacred guidance. My nervous system welcomes calm and security. I create a life filled with peace and purpose. I embody love, freedom, and emotional peace. My heart is free, my boundaries are strong, and my future is abundant. My past has strengthened my wisdom. I choose relationships that align with my values. My heart embraces healthy, reciprocal love. I welcome relationships that nourish my soul. Real love feels safe, calm, and consistent. I welcome love rooted in respect, trust, and honesty. Love supports my growth and well-being. I choose relationships that honor my heart. I attract emotionally available partners. I attract emotionally mature partners. My relationships are built on mutual care and appreciation. I create relationships where I feel emotionally safe. Emotional safety allows my heart to flourish. I thrive in relationships built on trust. I value mutual understanding and emotional safety. I attract relationships where empathy flows both ways. I welcome people who honor my boundaries. I welcome consistency, honesty, and emotional maturity. Peace feels natural in my relationships. Reciprocity flows naturally in my relationships. Mutual respect strengthens every connection. Honest communication creates deeper intimacy. I welcome secure, loving partnerships. Healthy love feels peaceful and uplifting. I choose healthy, loving relationship patterns. Every day, I create new pathways to love and connection. I embrace relationships that bring peace trust and joy. I embrace relationships that bring consistency and security. My heart recognizes healthy love with ease. I welcome emotionally safe connections. I create a new relationship story filled with love and respect. My heart is open to healthy love. I embrace a future filled with authentic connection. My soul recognizes authentic love. I trust that I am being guided towards healthy love. My intuition leads me towards relationships that nourish my soul. I create relationships rooted in honesty, reciprocity, and emotional safety. I choose people who choose me. I deserve a love that feels safe, secure, joyful, and free. My future is filled with genuine love, meaningful connection, and inner peace. If you enjoy the affirmations and meditations I share here, you will love the longer versions I've created on Insight Timer, the world's #1 meditation app, available in the App Store and on Google Play. Every Friday, I release a brand new guided practice on topics like love, health, wealth, motivation, abundance, and many more things, all designed to help you relax, recharge, and realign. Just search for Venus O'Hara on Insight Timer or follow the link in the show notes. To find out more about me and my orgasmic lifestyle, visit venusohara.org or follow me on Instagram. The Orgasmic Lifestyle is also on Substack and YouTube, where you can watch all the interviews with our experts. All the links are in the show notes below. Make sure to search for the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast by Venus O'Hara in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere podcasts are found. And click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks for listening. Have an orgasmic week and make sure every day is a climax.